Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about what creatures are going to be in ARK Lost Colony. This DLC comes out in roughly 2 weeks, so we just want to get into what creatures will be in it and some speculation on different creatures that might be in it. Getting right into it, there's a few creatures that have obviously been released for the purpose of Lost Colony and are currently in the game on other maps. So what we know are confirmed and obviously are in the Lost Colony is the Towering Ocedon that was added on Ragnarok just a couple weeks ago. The newly released Malwyn, which we have this concept picture for, but that's about it. Coinciding with that will be the Veilwyn, which we know transforms into the Malwyn. This came out with Ragnarok when it released. We also know there'll be a second evolution of the Veilwyn, but we have no idea what it'll look like. Next we have the Elder Claw, which was recently released with Valguero that came out about a month and a half ago. And of course we know for the Fantastic Tames portion of this, we have the Drakeling, which was released with Ragnarok. So far it's a pretty cool creature lineup. I hope they do a few more custom creatures or brand new creatures to the map, but we'll talk about those a little later. Next we have the creatures which I've labeled as 96% confident, which means I'm fairly sure they're going to be in it. They've been in most maps. If not, it just makes sense for them to be on this map with the limited information we have. First up, we have a bunch of different farming creatures. We have the Anki, which is the obvious option. It's been on most maps, if not all maps. Next we have the RG, which was on Extinction and was used heavily in the snow. Pretty sure it was even in the Scorched Earth biome in Extinction as well. And to round off the pure farming dinos, I do believe we're going to see the Doedicurus on this map, as it's basically used in the same essence as an Anki is. Next up, I do believe we'll see the cats being brought back, as this is supposed to be castle themed. So it makes sense where you find cats in a bunch of different castles on different maps like Valguero and Ragnarok. Next up is a bunch of different snow creatures like the Chalicotherium, which you see in snow maps everywhere, the Daedon, the Terrorizing Pig, the Giant Dire Bear, which hits like a truck and might be a boss creature, I'm thinking, for Lost Colony if there's no Rexes, like I don't think there will be. I do think we'll see the Direwolf as well, as it's been on every snow map and it just seems to make sense. And of course I think we'll see the Dodo. The Dodo is the only creature to my knowledge that's on every single map. Next up, sticking with the snow theme, I do see us getting the Gigantopithecus. It just makes sense as an early first starter tame. I also think we're going to be seeing the Mammoth, which I actually believe is going to be the main wood gatherer. I don't necessarily think we're going to see Castroidus. Just doesn't seem like the kind of map. Frozen Wasteland doesn't scream rivers with beaver dams to me. Sticking with the snow, I do think we're going to see the Megaloceros. That'd be a pretty fun thing to run around the map, I think. Next, I do think we'll see the Megalosaurus, because this is supposed to be a nighttime map because the Earth isn't spinning, so it's a cold night wasteland from my understanding, so it makes sense that the Megalosaurus would be on this map. Megalosaurus would be on this map. Another potential boss creature, maybe. Next, I think we'll see the Megatherium. Just sticking with the fur and cold biomes, it just makes sense that he'll be there too. And of course, we'll see the Onyx. I'm 99% confident on this one. I mean, it's a map about vampires, so it would make sense if we didn't see the Onyx on this map, especially with all the castles and caves. Of course, I think we'll see the Otter. The Otter is one of my favorite creatures, so I'm just hoping it's in it, to be honest. But again, snow, otters just make sense. Along with the Ovis being the best taming food in the whole game, although so far the creatures we have don't really require mutton. The Lost Colony creatures have been released, so we'll see how that goes. One of my less confident guesses for what's going to be on this map. Next up on the list, the Pteranodon. This was on Extinction, so I don't see why it wouldn't be on Lost Colony. They can fly, it just makes sense that they would travel to Lost Colony. Of course, the Sabertooth, just again, Ice Age type thing. It just makes sense for it to be in the Frozen Wasteland. The Snow Owl, similar to the Pteranodon, I think it just makes sense for it to be able to fly to Lost Colony, the dark side. I also think its thermal vision just fits in way too cleanly with Lost Colony's idea for it to not be there. Next, the Woolly Rhino, because again, snow biome, woolly, hair, fur, just makes sense. And then finally, the Yutyrannus. Again, the snow biome, but the Yutyrannus is a good boss buffing creature, so I could see that being pretty useful in boss fights. Now I'll move on to the next part, where these are kind of creatures I could see being in it, and I'll give a reason for each of them as to why they might be in it. First up, and of course, the Aranio. It's in every cave. It makes sense getting castles, and it's getting a TLC. I don't see Wildcard giving this a TLC without throwing it in Lost Colony as well. Next is the Bronto, which if purely based on tribute trophies, I think you'll need them, but they're on extinction, so it makes sense. Next is the Karcher. So if there is Titans on this map, of course we're going to need the Karcher and Gigas. But again, it's on extinction, so it just makes sense. Next is the Carno, which is the Carno is on most maps. Makes sense to have it. It's just a mid-game normal creature at this point. Of course, I think we'll get the Dreadmare simply because it's a paid creature and it was an extinction. It only comes out at night, so it would make sense that this thing was on there. Next is the Featherlight, Glowtail, Shinehorn, and Bulbdog. Now, if you didn't know, the Aberration ARK is supposedly to have crashed on this side of the planet. So, yeah, but we'll talk about that more. But those for sure, I think, are going to be in. It just makes sense with the all-nighttime biome. Next is the Giga, which is the same reason as the Karchas. Next is the Gigantoraptor. This one's a stretch, but it just makes sense with its feathers. It just feels like an add-on creature. Hyenodon, of course, it's in the city on extinction, so it makes sense to be roaming the city scavenging on Lost Colony. Then we've got the Ichthyornis. It's annoying and it's on extinction, so it's probably going to be in Lost Colony. Next is the Kiruku. I mean, it's a winter snow map. Makes sense to be there. Next is the Iguanodon. This is also a stretch, but it's in the city on extinction, so why wouldn't it be in the city in Lost Colony? Next is the Lystro. I mean, it's small enough and it just fills up a creature space, so I think it's good. Next, the Managarmr. It's in the snow biome on extinction. I don't see why it wouldn't be in Lost Colony. Microraptors, they're found in the city on extinction. They're also in caves, so it makes sense for them to be there. Same with the Megalania, which is also on extinction in the city and in the caves. The Mesopithecus, just a small monkey. It makes sense that he would be in the snow biome, but also it might be too small for what's able to kill it, so it's kind of on my maybe list. The Pegos, they're annoying. They're small. They're in the extinction city. They're probably going to be in Lost Colony. Pulmonus Scorpius, again, they're in the wasteland, but they're also in the caves, so cave creature makes sense. The Quetzal, which is in extinction, don't really see a reason why it wouldn't be in Lost Colony. Also, it's getting a TLC, so I don't think they'd waste that. The Trike, pretty basic thing, it just seems to be on most maps. The Equus, it's on extinction, so it makes sense for it to be in Lost Colony. Next up there is, just makes sense to me, mid-game creature. I don't see why it couldn't be on there. And now I know the Rex wasn't on my list. I don't expect there to be Rexes on this map. I think they're going for something else, especially with the way the Oceodon matches the stats of the Rex, seemingly. I think they're trying to replace the Rex with the Oceodon for this map, which I think will be pretty cool. Now, the Aberration situation. So like I said, the Aberrant ARK has supposedly crashed on the side of the Earth, so it makes sense we're going to see a bunch of Aberration creatures. Specifically, I think we're going to see the Ravagers. They're just small. It seems like it would fit the theme for this map. I think we might see a Roll Rat just because, again, I think we'll see the Reaper. I think we probably won't get Rock Drakes. I don't think we'll get the Karkanos, and I think we'll definitely see Nameless, as long as they're not just replaced with the zombies that are, or the vampires, I guess, that are specifically supposed to be on this. I also think we'll see the Yeeling, because I think they want more use out of that. That's kind of an outside guess, but I do think that we'll see the Yeeling in this as well. Now time for some of my creature guesses. So these are completely random guesses. I just think that they fit something that we're lacking in ARK. So something that keeps you warm, maybe something like a Dimetrodon, but the opposite. So it just makes you warm, besides the Otter. I also think we're going to get something super fast, so maybe that is the Malwyn, but I think you need something pretty quick to escape vampires. I also think we're probably going to get a Fantastic Tames version of the Pyromane that is ice, because Wildcard seems to absolutely love these things. And my final thing is kind of just something I hope we get. I'm not really sure if we're going to see it or not, but the Cryolophosaurus that's currently in the ARK Ascended works. I think it'd be a perfect time to introduce it. And then I think maybe we'll get something that's like an NPC counter, because I know there's supposed to be NPCs in it, so maybe you get something that lets a roar off that only scares NPCs. Or something that can pick them up on its own. Or maybe, speaking of that, maybe we'll get a new flyer that's kind of a nighttime. Or the Desmodus might fit here, super cool. Speaking of Desmodus, I want to say there's a few things I think that you could introduce here that would be super, super cool. So, the Desmodus, it's a vampire theme, so it just makes sense. Next would be the Dinopithecus, which is a great escape mount. And it's a primate just like the Oceodon is, but that's kind of a stretch. I think Enforcers could be cool. It makes sense that they'd be in a city. And the Light and Dark doesn't seem to matter to an Enforcer. I think a Red Element variant of the Ferox would be super cool, inspiring Genesis. It would kind of create a cool link between the two maps. Maybe a big, mean, older brother inspiring the normal Ferox. Maybe it turns red instead. And then honestly, I think the Megaraptor would fit this map pretty well. It's going with like a darker, cold, kind of creepy theme, and I think that the Megaraptor just fits that, so it'd be pretty cool to be on that. We're running on 10 minutes here, so I'm just going to wrap this up. Let me know, did you agree with me? Is there any I missed? Is there any that you'd like to see on the map? Maybe anything from Survival Evolved or mods that are currently out? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching.